christiangeekcentral.com. Do you like games? I like games too. I like games too.
Oh, thank you, Rugged Warrior. Rugged Warrior says, you never finished answering what systems you owned growing up. Yeah. Well, before the Nintendo was the Atari 2600. I still have a bunch of games for that system. Packed away in a box somewhere. Because it's hard to get the system working in a good way. Super Nintendo. I bought a Super Nintendo with my own money. I think I've told this story before. But the original Nintendo was a gift for me and all of my sisters. When I bought, then we eventually sold that. And I said, let's sell this and let's split whatever the money is that we get for this Nintendo between me and my two sisters. Because then I wanted to buy a Super Nintendo all by myself. Because my older sister would say, hey, they're taking the Nintendo to a friend's house for a sleepover? You didn't ask me about that. And she was long past even playing Nintendo games, at the time. She was just being a snot. So I was like, you know what? No. No one is going to decide when I can and can't play this Nintendo, except for me and my parents. So I bought a Super Nintendo, a used one, with my own money. From then on, I bought consoles with my own money. So I got a PlayStation after that, original PlayStation, and PlayStation 2, and then 360, and now PS4. So, yeah. And it was during college that I bought the PlayStation, and I really had to make that choice carefully. I wrote an email to Nintendo because I noticed that that the new Final Fantasy game was coming to PlayStation, and Final Fantasy games had been exclusive. They were not on Sega consoles. They were exclusive to Nintendo consoles up to that point. And suddenly, lo and freaking behold, Final Fantasy VII was coming to this new upstart PlayStation console? What the crap? And I didn't see word of really any RPGs coming to, what was it, the N64? I think that was the competitor for the original PlayStation. And so I remember I was in college, and I used my first email account that I'd ever had, where my name was PTR666 at asu.edu. So I emailed them and I said, listen, I'm not hearing about any video games that are coming. I think maybe the only thing they had to tell me at the time was, I think they might have suggested that the next Earthbound game was maybe going to be coming to, and that never happened. But I wish now I would have saved that email. It was so weak. I mean, it was. They said something like, it was very marketing speak. It's like, we're always appreciative of our RPG gamers, or whatever the language of the day was. It was all that kind of language, and we're always looking for new experiences that we can bring. But okay, what experiences then are you going to be bringing? They had no specifics, no details. And then if you were a RPG fan and you followed the N64, or you bought an N64, then that they had far fewer RPG options than the PlayStation did. Time for the +2 page of many topics. So I have this page with 20 topics on it. I roll a 20-sided die, and then because it's a magically endowed page, a +2 page of many topics, I add 2 to this roll. And if I get to the end of the list and I have to go up, then I just cycle back to the top. And if I hit something that is crossed off, then I go on to the next topic. So there's always something that I will land on. Let's find out what I'm going to land on this time. 20, natural 20. So +2, that's going to go 1, 2. That's a topic I've already done, so skipping to the next one. Childhood toys / shows. So what stuff was I into as a kid? I was really into He-Man a lot. Loved that cartoon, loved the action figures. I mean, I still got my Castle Grayskull. I never got rid of that. But it was so imaginative, and I still love it visually and wish that they would kind of develop it into a grown-up version. In fact, I think a live-action movie for Masters of the Universe is in the works that will hopefully be more satisfying to adults than the Dolph Lundgren one, which, when that came out, was still aimed largely at kids, I think, because they were still really selling the toys, and it was a big franchise for kids. But now it's really a thing for adults. So I would love to see them revisit that and do like a grown-up, serious grown-up version of Masters of the Universe. Because it was this cool blend, I mean, largely fantasy, but tons of sci-fi. It was like this barbaric sword and sorcery world, but where like they still had weird sci-fi vehicles and guns with their swords, and it's just crazy imagination. My parents, I don't remember them being concerned about He-Man. They were concerned about Dungeons and Dragons. They didn't want me watching that cartoon, but I don't remember them being really concerned about He-Man. But yeah, so I was really into He-Man, and that's probably the thing I was most into. A decent second, I don't want to say a really close second, because if I were to count up all the action figures I had from both franchises, I had significantly fewer of these, but Transformers I was really big into. I probably was into that cartoon more than I was into the He-Man cartoon, but I had more He-Man toys. And then I liked for the time that we had cable, which was only for a few years, the Thundar the Barbarian cartoon. That's another one, mashup of sci-fi and fantasy. And I would love to see that remade as well as an adult movie franchise, like grown-up, serious, post-apocalyptic fantasy? You kidding me? It's like, what the crap? Yeah! Yeah, I would love to see a Thundar the Barbarian live-action movie. Or even a TV show. I mean, crap, dude. Yeah. Geek genres / topics you just don't understand. And the three that I would put in the category of like geek stuff that like I don't get the appeal. I don't think people are weird for like finding them appealing and getting excited about them. Not at all. But for me, I'm just like I don't get it. I don't understand personally what the appeal would be. It just doesn't hold an appeal for me, I guess. And that would be cosplay. What is that? Oh, action figures and anime. I'll circle back to anime. Cosplay and action figures, I think I understand more now. I had a conversation a while back on the podcast with Nathan James Norman, and I asked him, what's the deal with action figures and why people are into action figures? Because he was into action figures, and he was on the podcast talking to me about why he enjoyed them. And it was really kind of eye-opening for me, because he compared it to how, sometimes we view a property that we enjoy being made into a movie as like the culmination of how that property could be handled. The ultimate medium that we'd want to see it in is a movie. Like the first thing would be like, oh, I'd love to have a comic book of this. And then after that, maybe an animated TV show or movie or something like that. And then above and beyond that, a live-action movie. And his observation was that with each of those, oh, it's down there. With each of those, it's coming closer and closer into being a living thing, Like first it comes to the page, and you've got that visual element, and then it's animation, so it's moving, and there's sound added to it, and then live action. It is made up. There are real people that you can look at, and so it's coming closer and closer to what we would think of as being real, And action figures, likewise, bring these properties into the physical world, into something that's tactile, that you can touch, or that you can see, that exists in 3 dimensions. And so there's just something cool about having it out and even just in a box on the shelf. It's more real. It's more entered into the real world and the real, our real experience. And so I can understand. I feel like I can understand a little bit more the interest in collecting action figures now. So I can see cosplay as being like a way of bringing something that you like as a fan a little bit closer to the real world. Anime is really hit or miss with me. I tend to have more success in enjoying anime that is like dead serious, no humor whatsoever. Because the humor that is typical of Japanese anime is not funny to me. It's silly. It's silly. And I find it annoying. obviously that's going to take me out of the experience. And it's funny how sometimes there'll be these really serious anime TV shows or something, and then just out of nowhere they'll have like a talking rabbit character. Everything else is dead serious. Then they got some weird, ridiculous, cutesy, silly character. And I don't get how that doesn't, how that's not weird for other people, It seems to be this accepted thing. So there are just these kind of like accepted aspects of anime that I have not successfully been able to overlook. One element that even can be a problem for me in dead serious anime is just the unusual vocalizations that are somewhat unique to anime voice acting or voice acting inspired by anime, like you'll find in many JRPGs with voice acting. So there'll be like sounds like when a character's expressing surprise, they'll go, oh, it's this kind of unusual vocalization, and it's normal to Japanese anime, but you don't hear it in Western produced, American produced, or other types of Western produced animation. It's almost like that there's just a, and this is what I wonder, because I haven't been to Japan or really watched any movies. I've watched a few, but very rarely watched Japanese movies with English subtitles, so I'm still hearing the original actors, like live action Japanese movies. I don't know if it's more common to a Japanese person to express themselves vocally more often like that, like maybe when they're surprised, it's normal, in everyday, life of Japanese culture for them to make a vocalization when they're surprised, to go, oh, maybe that's normal, What's interesting to me is the choice to retain that when they dub it into English. I would love it, if localization teams were given many more liberties when they adapt works like that for Western audiences, for localizing the voice acting and stuff. I would love that. But now I think maybe it's too late. We just kind of came to accept the unusual vocalizations and the other cultural idiosyncrasies of anime, and maybe even they became endearing to us, like, yeah, it's weird, but it's kind of grown on me, and so it's too late to, now it would be a betrayal of the medium to adapt it further culturally for Westerners. So I don't know if that's what happened, and that's, but I feel like that ship has kind of sailed, and I'm very unlikely to get Japanese anime typically adapted the way that it's going to connect with me. I'll roll on the topic page again. Excuse me. The +2 page of many topics. What is your favorite animation? Animation type, and then specific movies/shows. I tend to like cell animation more than CG animation. I like cell animation that incorporates some CG stuff. The Iron Giant would be the first example that I would think of. And I just love that movie. That's probably my favorite animated movie, is The Iron Giant. When I saw that in theaters, I was back in college, still living at home. And I saw the TV commercials for it. I was like, oh, this looks kind of cool. I did not know what kind of effect it was going to have on me. I didn't know. That was such a moving movie to me, because it was the first review I ever put of a movie online. I wrote a little 3-paragraph review or something somewhere. I don't know if you could still find it if you search for Peter Franson and the Iron Giant. But I'll come back to Iron Giant in a second. When I wrote the review, I told Holly about it because it was around the time that we had met. I think I had already knew her. We were kind of dating long distance when I saw the movie. And I told her, yeah, you can find this review that I wrote to hear my thoughts on this if you search for my name in the Iron Giant. And then after I told her that, later on I was like, yeah, I wonder what else would show up what'll show up if you search for my name. So I put in Peter Franson and the Iron Giant. And you know how in search results, I've told this story before, sorry if you've heard it already. In search results, you'll see like the search terms you're looking for, and then like just a little snippet of the material that's on that page, so that you'll see more of if you click through that link. What it said in the search results: Peter Franson, The Iron Giant, and then right below that it said, "I enjoy hot rub downs by the fire." I enjoy hot rub downs by the fire. I don't particularly enjoy hot rub downs by the fire. I've never had a hot rub down by the fire before. But I was like, what the crap? So I followed that link. It was like some other text on that page that was near my review that someone else had written. But it looked like in the search results, Peter Franson, quote, "I enjoy hot rub downs by the fire." I was like, oh my gosh. So I had to email Holly and say, "Oh, in case you do this search, you might see this, and I know that's weird, but this is what's going on." So anyway, but no, I was so moved by that movie because it speaks so much to the human condition, specifically our broken sin problem. The Iron Giant has like hardwired into his nature that he is a destructive being. And he doesn't want to be this destructive being. He wants to be something different. There's an ideal that he wants to be. And in the movie, it's Superman. He wants to be Superman. He dreams of being Superman. And yet, instead, he's this force of destruction, you know, and he just wants to be free of that, you know. And that moved me so much, you know, that he wanted to be free of that, and that ultimately he just gave up his life in order to be free of that and in pursuit of that dream, of that ideal. And so anyway, it was very moving to me. Sorry, that's a bit of a spoiler if you haven't seen The Iron Giant. Although there's a little more I could say that's really cool about the ending that I won't. Anyway, if you haven't seen The Iron Giant, highly recommend it. Even if you don't have kids, I saw it long before I had kids. I bought it long before I had kids. Love it. So that's probably my favorite animated movie. I love the DC... No. I was going to say I love the DC animated movies. I used to. They really, early on, had this consistent level of quality for my tastes, for the types of things I, you know, watch movies and animation and stuff for. It was really consistent quality, I felt like, at the beginning. I think the more they started dipping into the New 52 source material, the current kind of like status quo of the DC universe, when they started tapping into those stories more, that's when I was like, I'm not interested in this, because I hate what they've done with the New 52. Maybe it's gotten better. I haven't kept in touch with it. I really like The Incredibles. Also, that's made by the same person who made The Iron Giant. Can't remember the director now. It's not why I like it. I discovered that kind of after the fact, but I really like that one. And that does have to do with me being a dad, and also being a superhero fan. Bruce Timm, just all of his DC animated stuff, the TV shows that he did, so from Batman animated series to Superman the animated series to Justice League, and I think to the end of Justice League is kind of when his run ended. He did do a Green Lantern TV series, which I still have not finished watching, and which is shocking to me, because I'm a huge Green Lantern fan. That's my favorite superhero concept of all time. And I never finished watching. I lost interest. I lost interest. I think it had something to do with the animation style. I'm not sure. It felt a little stale or dry or boring or something. I don't know what it was. Yeah, the Bruce Timm animated stuff. That's. I feel like that's a very standard answer. Standard geek answers. Oh, you know, the Bruce Timm animated series stuff. But that's where I would go. And then those two movies, Iron Giant and The Incredibles. I do like some anime. I really enjoyed Ghost in the Shell. I enjoyed Akira, as weird as that movie still is, and I'll be very interested to see the live-action version that they're working on. For me, just to kind of circle back to the anime topic from before, there was a lot of hit or miss with anime, and mostly it's miss. But when it hits with me, it hits. Like dark, horror, serious anime, I'm like, this is crazy cool. Because they'll often, in anime go into like horror types of body horror stuff where people are transforming and their necks are exploding and tentacles are coming out of their necks. I'm like, this is awesome, because I'm a big fan of John Carpenter's The Thing, and body horror in general is something that creeps me out in all the right ways. So I can really enjoy the right Japanese anime, but it's just got to be the right specific kind, the right specific flavor for me. Hey, just a reminder that this humble little YouTube channel is so dependent on people just like you. There are 3 main ways you can support this channel, and they're all over at spiritblade.com. The first is to purchase one of our sci-fi or fantasy audio dramas. Second is to give us a donation of any amount. And third, you can become a Spirit Blade insider and get access to exclusive behind-the-scenes monthly goodies. You can get more information on our About page over at spiritblade.com. Thanks so much.